Good morning. Welcome to Q&I class. My name is Dr. Meghna Garg and I'm biology faculty at Q&I. Students, am I audible? Am I audible to everyone? Raghul, Raghavi, Jovan. Okay, Raghavi, thank you for responding. So, we had already been covering this chapter, which was life processes, and we had initiated what we had begun, I think, nutrition in humans. So we had already covered digestion till stomach in that. Okay, so I think you people have revised it. Digestion and stomach. I think you people have revised whatever I had told you in the previous class. Yes. Okay. Good. So now the prerequisites for today's class would be that you need to be thorough with the term heterotrophic nutrition. Then what is holozoic nutrition? So it is basically the type of nutrition which is performed by human beings. Okay. And next, digestion in mouth and digestion in stomach. Till this we have already covered. Now the today's class we are going to talk about digestion in small intestine. So overall, just I had told you previous also that from digestion in humans you can expect one question. Okay, and the outline for today's class would be digestion in stomach. So I'll be presenting a quick recap of what we had studied during digestion in stomach, and then we will be moving ahead with digestion in small intestine. So now let's quickly take a recap of what we had studied. So I had told you during the previous class that particularly digestion in mouth. Okay, so digestion in mouth. So starch begins to get digested here. Can you tell me the name of the enzyme which acts on the starch in the mouth? Can you tell me the name of the enzyme which acts on the starch in the mouth? So starch is being acted upon by salivary amylase. Very good. So yes, it is being acted upon by salivary amylase. Okay. And salivary amylase converted into maltose. Okay. However, if you could recall my previous class, I had told you that finally the starch needs to be converted into glucose. Okay. So till now there is only partial digestion of starch, not full digestion of starch had taken place. Then we move to digestion in stomach. So digestion in stomach. So in stomach, digestion of mostly two things takes place. First of all, there is proteins digestion. So proteins with the help of the enzyme pepsin, it gets converted into peptones. Okay. But again, if you could recall my previous class, I had told you that proteins finally needs to be converted into amino acids, which is still not achieved. Okay. And finally, if you could recall again my previous class, can you tell me how is pepsin made active in the stomach? How is pepsin activated inside the stomach? How is pepsin activated inside the stomach? At which pH? Acidic or basic? Yes. Raghavi, you can unmute yourself. Acidic, Raghul. Okay, very good. Acidic pH. And that acidic pH is provided by? Very good, Alan. Very good, Raghavi. Very good, Raghul. Jovan. And that acidic pH is provided by? HCl. Yes, very good. So with the help of HCl, finally this pepsinogen was getting converted into pepsin. Then the second molecule which gets digested in the stomach is lipase. Okay, so there is an enzyme called as gastric lipase, which is secreted in small amounts. Okay, not in huge amounts like pepsin, but in small amounts. Gastric lipase is also secreted, and this lipid, sorry, now the lipids would be converted into fatty acids. Okay. Apart from this, I had also told you one more enzyme was present, which was renin, and renin was coagulating the milk so that it can be further digested. Okay. Coagulating the milk was its main purpose. Okay. So these were the three enzymes which we had discussed during the digestion in stomach. I hope to everyone these three things are clear and we can move ahead. Okay. Now, So what happens now? The partially digested food leaves the stomach. The partially digested food which is leaving from the stomach, that is called as chyme. Okay, that is called as chyme. So now you can see from here the partially digested food is exiting the stomach, and this exit of the food from the stomach is guided by a sphincter muscle. So there is one sphincter muscle present, and this sphincter is called as pyloric sphincter. In the last class, I had told you to pay special emphasis to the location of sphincters present in the digestive system, because this was once asked in your CBSE examination, that where exactly sphincters are located in the entire digestive system. So first sphincter which we have come across is this pyloric sphincter, which is guarding the exit of the chyme from the stomach into the intestine. Okay, so this was a sphincter muscle. Now the food enters the small intestine. Okay, so the food is now entering into the small intestine. The first part of the small intestine where the food enters after the stomach, that is called as duodenum. That is called as duodenum. Okay, duodenum is this part of the small intestine. The three parts of the small intestine are duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Okay, so the first part which in which this chyme is entering is your duodenum. Now, digestion of food in the small intestine, it requires alkaline medium. So digestion in stomach was requiring acidic medium. However, digestion in intestine, it requires alkaline medium. So the food received from the stomach, it has to be made first alkaline, because already it was acidic because of HCl present in it. Now it has to be made alkaline so that digestion of food can begin in small intestine. Now, how does it happen? How is it being made alkaline? So now what will happen as the food is entering inside the duodenum? Okay. Now there are secretions of several glands which are poured into your duodenum. Okay. So yes, Ragul, very good. So now what will happen? You can see from here, liver. Okay. Liver and pancreas. Particularly, these are the two main glands which are pouring its secretions into the duodenum. Okay. Now, below the liver, there is one more organ which is called as gallbladder. You can see it in the green green color here. This is a pouch like structure which is present just below the liver. Now liver secretes bile juice. Okay. So now liver is secreting bile juice. Okay. And this bile juice is temporarily stored in this gallbladder. And as soon as the food comes from the stomach into the intestine, depending on the need, now this gallbladder will release its secretion, will release its bile juice into the duodenum. Okay. So now this is the gallbladder. And now whatever food enters into the intestine, the gallbladder now releases bile juice into it through this duct. So you can see the duct through which now the food is getting secreted, getting poured from the gallbladder into the duodenum. Okay. Now what will happen? Bile makes the food alkaline. So the first thing which bile is doing is that it is making the food alkaline for digestion to occur in small intestine. So this is its first function, that bile makes the food alkaline. Okay, it is making the food alkaline. So this is the alkaline pH which is now being maintained by bile juice. Now, apart from this, the bile juice also contains, despite its this function that it is making the food alkaline, the bile juice contains bile salts. Okay, so bile juice contain bile salts. Now, what will happen? These bile salts, they will break the large fat globules into smaller ones. Okay, so now see from here what is happening. These are large fat globules, okay? And these large fat globules, by the action of bile juice and particularly bile salts, they are getting broken down into smaller pieces, okay? Now, this is called as emulsification of fats. This is called as emulsification of fats. Okay. Now, students, to emphasize this particular function here, emulsification of fats. See, emulsification is nothing. Basically, what happened? Bile salts, they are breaking down the large fat globules into smaller pieces. It is not acting on it at the molecular level. Okay, it is just breaking the large fragment of fat into smaller fragments so that now lipases can act on it. Okay, so now there would be lipases present in the small intestine which would be acting on it. But if there is a large fat globule, the lipases might not be able to break that fat globule effectively. Okay, so to increase the surface area on which the enzyme can act, this fat globule gets broken down into smaller particles, and this is achieved by bile juice or particularly bile salts which are secreted from the liver. Is it clear? What is emulsification of fats? Is it done? Have you understood? Raghavi to clear, Raghul, Jovan, Alan, have you understood? Okay. Now, so what is happening basically? See, this was a large fat globule molecule. If lipases are to act onto this, then they will not get proper access to it. However, now if you break this fat globule into smaller pieces, okay, if you break this fat globule into smaller pieces, what will happen? Smaller fragments would be generated, and now the enzyme further will be able to act on individual pieces in a more efficient manner like this. Okay, so that's how emulsification of fats makes the digestion of fats more easier. Okay, now the pancreas role come into play. What will pancreas do? Now similarly the pancreas will secrete pancreatic juice. So this is the pancreas, the yellow organ which you can see from here. Okay, so this yellow leaf like organ, this yellow leaf like organ which you can see at the back of the stomach. Okay, this yellow leaf like organ, this is your pancreas. And now the pancreas will do what? Through the pancreatic duct, through the pancreatic duct, it will pour its secretions into the duodenum. Okay, it will pour its secretions into duodenum. Now what happens particularly, that the bile and the bile and the pancreatic juice, it enters through a common duct into the intestine. Okay, and this common duct, so you can see the action of bile juice and the pancreatic juice occurring at the both same time. You can see from here, both pancreatic juice and bile juice, they are entering the duodenum through a common duct. This common duct is called as hepatopancreatic duct. This common duct is called as hepatopancreatic duct. Okay, this is the common duct, finally the common opening which is causing the release of pancreatic and bile juice into the duodenum. Okay, now everyone solve this question. Write your answers in the chat box only. Okay, Raghavi, Raghul, Alan. Okay, Joven. Okay. So, yes, the correct answer is option number C. Well done, everyone. Now, moving ahead to the action of the pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice has three digestive enzymes present in it. So, it has got three digestive enzymes present in it. The first one is trypsin. Okay, so this one, the first thing. Now, if you could recall again from the previous class, I had given you one trick, that how exactly can you remember that which type of molecule is getting digested in which part of the digestive system. Do you people remember that? Do you people remember the trick I had told you people in the previous class, that how can you memorize? Yes, anyone? Alan, Jovan, Raghavi, Raghul, anyone, can you recall? I had given you the trick. I had given you the short trick to memorize, that how can you remember that which the molecule is getting digested in which part of the body, which part of the digestive system. Raghavi, you can unmute yourself. Yes, Raghavi, unmute yourself and answer it.
Some starch gets digested in mouth, proteins and lipids gets digested in stomach, and overall starch, proteins and lipids gets digested in the small intestine.
Very good, very good. So yes, basically I had told you that from day one when we had begun this digestion in humans, I had been repeatedly telling you that throughout the digestive system, you will only get to see digestion of three important molecules: starch, proteins, and lipids. Only these three molecules digestion. So first digestive organ would be mouth. The food is entering into mouth. So starch gets partially digested in mouth. Now the rest of two molecules will be digested, or their digestion will begin in stomach. And finally all three molecules will be digested where? In the small intestine. Okay, so Raghavi, very good. I'm very happy that you recall this trick. Okay, if you memorize this trick. So that's everyone. Alan, Jovan, Raghul, you can also memorize it in the same manner. Okay. Now, what is happening? The trypsin is particularly the enzyme which is present in the pancreatic juice. The role of liver's bile salts is over. It is only limited to the bile emulsification of fats. Now, the role of pancreatic juice is coming into play. So, pancreatic juice has three enzymes, and the first one is trypsin. And now, trypsin digests the proteins. Okay, so this is protein molecule, and now finally trypsin, because of this the proteins, they are now getting converted into amino acids. Apart from amino acids, okay, so proteins, I'm writing the equation here on the left hand side so that you people can write it down. Proteins, because of trypsin, they are getting converted into amino acids, and also some peptones are also formed. Okay, so both amino acids and peptones are formed. See, now if you could recall that when we had studied the digestion of pepsin, pepsin was able to convert proteins into peptones only. However, trypsin is a bit more powerful, you can say, that now it is digesting proteins into amino acids and peptones. That means the final digestive product of proteins which we had targeted for, that proteins need to be converted to amino acids, that has now come into picture. Okay, are you all getting my point? What am I trying to say? Are you all getting my point? What am I trying to say, students? Okay, Raghul, Alan, are you understanding? Okay. Now, so trypsin is now digesting proteins into amino acids and peptones, but finally these peptones also needs to be broken down. Now, next, the second one would be lipase. Now, see, whenever the digestion of starch comes, okay, whenever the digestion of starch comes, always write the enzyme amylase. If it is present in saliva, you will write salivary amylase. Now, if it is present in the secretions of pancreas, you will write it as pancreatic amylase. Okay. And similarly, when you have digestion of lipids, okay, so lipids will always be digested by lipase only. Always digested by lipase. When it was present in stomach, since you call stomach also gastric, okay, gastro. So what happens? You writing it as gastric lipase. Now, since it is present in pancreatic juice, you call it as pancreatic lipase. Very simple. Okay. For two. So right now, again coming to the point that I had told you that you need to memorize three particular three molecules: starch, proteins, lipids. Out of them, starch and lipids, they are always getting digested by amylase and lipase. That means no more enzymes for these. Depending on the location where they are secreted, if they are present in saliva, you call it as salivary amylase. Okay. If it is present in pancreas, you are calling it as pancreatic amylase. If lipase is secreted in stomach, you are calling it as gastric lipase. If lipase is secreted by the pancreas, you are calling it as pancreatic lipase. Okay, so see how much easy I have made your work, how much easy I have made you people to memorize it. Okay, I hope you people now memorize it. Now, the only enzymes name which is getting changed was of proteins. So, in stomach for digestion of proteins, pepsin was there, whereas in intestine for digestion of proteins, you have trypsin present. So you need to memorize only the names of the protein digesting enzymes. Rest for starch and lipids, the enzyme is always same. Okay. Now, the second one is lipase. So lipase is doing what? Lipase digests fats. So this is a fat molecule. Now lipase will digest it into fatty acids. Okay. So now I am going to write this equation as well. The fats or lipids, okay, using pancreatic lipase. Pancreatic lipase, now they are converted into fatty acids. Okay, so every time lipase is acting and lipase is converting into the final product which we had targeted for. Now, the third enzyme will be for the digestion of starch. So again, now you can see the name of the enzyme, pancreatic amylase. Okay, so now pancreatic amylase digests carbohydrates. So carbohydrates like maltose, and it is getting converted into glucose. So now what happens, to clarify this further, okay, now please remember this, that initially when on starch, okay, when on starch, pancreatic amylase is acting. Okay, pancreatic amylase is acting. It is again converting it into maltose. Rather than glucose, write it as maltose only. Okay, it is again converted into maltose. Okay, so now again you can see that some digestion of peptones is left and digestion of maltose is left. Okay, is it clear to everyone? The digestion of three important molecules. Is it clear to everyone? Alan, Raghavi, Raghul, Jovan. Okay. Now, the role. Now see, what was our final role? The proteins, they need to be converted into amino acids. Although trypsin was able to generate some amino acids, but still some peptones were present which need to be again converted into amino acids. So now we have digestion of some of peptones left. Okay. Now digestion of lipids. So lipids digestion was done by lipase and it was converted into fatty acids. Fatty acids are directly being absorbed, so no need to convert it into now. So this digestion is automatically complete. Now when we were talking about digestion of starch, so now using the enzyme amylase, starch was getting converted into maltose. However, it still needs to be converted into glucose. That means again digestion of maltose is left. So now you have again digestion of some peptones and you have again digestion of some maltose which is still left. So now what happens? The walls of the small intestine, yes, the walls of the small intestine, they secrete intestinal juice. This intestinal juice is called as succus entericus. Okay, so intestinal juice, the walls of the intestine. Okay, so now this was the intestine. Now the walls of the intestine, they are releasing this juice into the intestine and this juice is called as succus entericus. Okay, now what it will succus entericus do? Succus entericus has finally all the enzymes present in it which will digest these molecules as well. For example, it has dipeptidases. Okay, so whatever peptones were present, whatever peptones or whatever small proteins, okay, whatever proteins, everything, and whatever particularly you can say that amino acids. Okay, so whatever small amino acids chain were present, amino acid 1, amino acid 1, 2, they will convert all of the left of the peptones and all of the dipeptides into what? Into your amino acids. So finally, because of dipeptidases, amino acids are being generated. Okay. So if you have to write this equation, you will write dipeptides and using the enzyme dipeptidases, they are converted into amino acids. Similarly, for digestion of maltose, you have an enzyme present in succus entericus, which is your maltase. And now this maltose is converted into glucose. That means 2 units of glucose. Okay. 2 units of glucose. Glucose plus glucose you can write. Apart from this, it has several other enzymes also. Okay. Now, those enzymes you may not need to memorize, but finally, all of the digestion, there are several other enzymes also, like you have nucleases, you have proteases, you have lipases. They're all present in succus entericus. So, the final aim of the digestion was to bring the smaller units of all these complex molecules, which is now achieved in the small intestine. So the final digestion of all of the molecules takes place where? Takes place in small intestine. Is it clear? Have you understood? Have you understood, everyone? Okay, Raghul, Jovin, Raghavi, Alan, Raghavi, have you understood? Okay. Now, so finally, complex food, that is carbohydrates. This was the first slide, if you remember. This was the first slide which I had presented to you, that the complex food needs to be converted into simple food. So now carbohydrates are converted into glucose, fats are converted into fatty acids, and proteins are converted into amino acids. Okay. Now, this food is completely digested in the small intestine. Always remember this location. The complete digestion of food takes place in small intestine. Now, everyone, solve some questions. Okay. Okay, Rahul, Raghavi, Alan, Jovin. Very good. So yes, the final enzyme would be trypsin. Very good, everyone. Correct answer is trypsin. Next. Okay, Rahul. Okay, Alan. Okay, Jovan, Raghavi, yes. So the correct answer would be option number A, pancreas and liver. Very good. Well done, everyone. Now, moving ahead, what happens? The food now, digested food passes down through the small intestine. Okay. So after duodenum, it is entering into jejunum and then it is entering into ileum. So this extensive coiled portion, which you can see from here, this is all your ileum. Okay. So now the small intestine, it is excessively coiled and it is now forming ileum. Okay. Now the food you can see it is entering into ileum. Now, once the food enters into the lower parts of the small intestine, you see that in small intestine, you have several finger-like projections present. These are several finger-like projections present. These finger-like projections, they are called as villi. Okay. These are called as villi. Now, what are villi doing? So, as the food is passing through the small intestine, what will happen? These villi, since they are richly supplied with blood vessels, okay? So, the villi, you can see from here, there are blood vessels which are present, okay? So, you can see from here, there are blood vessels which are present in the villi. These are the blood vessels which you can see from here. These are the blood vessels which are supplying the blood or which are present in the villi. Once the food passes through the small intestine, then what will happen? These villi, they will absorb the food into them. They will absorb these simpler molecules into them and then this food. So this was the food molecule which was being broken down by the action of enzymes and converted into simpler nutrients and these smaller nutrients through villi. So you can again see this animation. Through villi, these smaller nutrients are then absorbed into blood and finally they are being delivered to the cells of the body. Okay. So now villi do what? Villi basically increase the surface area for absorption of food. Okay, so villi are increasing the surface area for absorption of food. And second important function of villi is that they are lined by blood vessels. So because of this, the food enters into blood and finally delivered to cell. Okay, so finally the food is now delivered to cell. Clear? I hope it is clear to everyone. Now solve this question. Okay, Raghavi. Okay, Raghul. Alan, okay. Joven, okay. Yes, so the correct answer is option number B, to increase the area for absorption. Well done, everyone. Now the unabsorbed food passes into the large intestine. So now whatever food remains are left, whatever food is not absorbed by the villi or by the small intestine, now through the small intestine, the food will go into the large intestine. Now, can anyone tell me the three parts of small intestine?
Duodenum, jejunum, ileum.
Not small intestine, large intestine. Very good for small intestine, but I was asking for did I say small intestine by mistake? I'm asking you the names of large intestine. If any one of you know. Okay, so the first part is your cecum. Okay, so cecum is a small pouch-like structure which is present just at the opening, and then you have colon present. So this one is your ascending colon, this one is your transverse colon, and this one is your descending colon. So after cecum you have colon, and finally you have rectum present through which you secrete out your waste. Okay, you excrete your waste. So these are the three parts of your large intestine: cecum, colon, and rectum. So now the food further enters into large intestine. Now, in the large intestine, there does not occur any digestion of food. Then, what role does large intestine play? Again, large intestine is 1.5 meters long. It is shorter in length than small intestine, but it is larger in diameter than small intestine, and that's why it was called as large intestine. Okay, so it is 1.5 meters. Okay, and now this undigested food pass through the large intestine. In large intestine, you have again villi present, and the major role of large intestine. So this was the question which was again asked in CBSE examination. In large intestine, major absorption of water and salts takes place. So very, very important, absorption of water takes place in large intestine, and because of this absorption of water, feces are formed which you excrete out. Okay, so you can see as the food passes through the large intestine, the villi, they are absorbing water and salts out of it, and the rest of the material is moved out through anus. Okay, so the opening of the rectum, that is called as anus. Now, again comes the role of second sphincter muscle. Very, very important. So, again, the exit is regulated by a sphincter muscle, and this sphincter is called as anal sphincter. Okay, this is called as anal sphincter. So we have read two sphincters in the entire digestive system. The first one was present at the opening of the stomach into the duodenum, which was pyloric sphincter, and the second one guards the opening of rectum. Okay, guards the opening of anus or rectum into anus, and that is your anal sphincter. Okay, clear? Sorry, not the opening of rectum, it guards the opening of anus, that is called as anal sphincter. Okay, so you have this sphincter present, which is your anal sphincter. Clear to everyone? Raghul, okay, Raghavi, Alan, Joven, have you understood? Now solve this question, everyone. Okay, Raghavi, Raghul, Jovan, Alan. So yes, the correct answer is option number B, absorb water. So now let's conclude what all have we studied. So we had studied the digestion in stomach, whereas in small intestine, digestion of molecules takes place. Okay, so now I'll ask questions to all of you, okay, to conclude this. Okay, first of all, Jovan, unmute yourself. Jovan, unmute yourself. Jovan, Jovan, unmute yourself.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes. So now answer which are the two glands which are pouring their secretions into small intestine?
I don't remember well.
Hmm? One which was secreting bile juice was?
Is it the pancreas and liver?
Yes, pancreas and liver. Yes, pancreas and liver. Okay. Now, Alan, unmute yourself. Very good, Joven. Alan, unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, liver secretes what?
Bile juice.
Very good. And what was the function of bile juice? Yes, it was
I
breaking
don't know, ma'am.
large fat globules into smaller ones. What was this function called as?
Emulsification.
Yes, emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats. Okay. Now, another one was that bile juice was also making the medium alkaline. Now, Raghavi, unmute yourself. Raghavi, unmute yourself. Raghavi, quickly. Okay, Raghul, unmute yourself. Raghul, Raghavi, one of you unmute yourself. Quickly. Raghul, where are you students? Raghavi, Raghul, are you people even here? Where are you people lost? Suddenly. Okay, so pancreatic juice contains which secretions? The first enzyme which was present in pancreatic juice was? Alan, Joven, any one of you answer? Am I not audible? Students? Okay, it was trypsin and it was pancreatic amylase and it was pancreatic lipase. Okay, then we had studied that the small intestine is lined by villi, which increases the surface area for absorption of food. And the main role of large intestine was to absorb water. Have you people understood? Why I'm suddenly getting no response from everyone? Have you people understood? Am I audible or not? Raghavi, why were you not unmuting yourself? I had asked you to unmute yourself.
Actually network problem. I can't join.
Okay. Raghul, you were also not there. You were also not unmuting yourself. Okay. Now in next class, what we are going to talk about. So in next class, we would be beginning with respiration. Okay. So now in next class, we are going to move ahead with respiration. Till then, your homework would be that you people would be solving questions. Okay. From, sorry, not solving questions. You people would be reading NCERT till nutrition in humans. Please read line by line from NCERT. Okay, you need to be very thorough with your NCERT because NCERT is very important when we talk about your boards. Okay, and please fill that feedback form. So now I am ending the meeting. Okay, bye bye and take care, and please fill that feedback form. Okay, bye bye. Bye, Alan.